Not a good thing, all the attention on him and Meghan. They don't like it, Maureen.
I know, because, I mean, how can one monetize oneself?
Why did he show up? If he hates attention, he can't stand the attention. It's bad that people are interested in his marriage and in him. But here I am, look at me. And then he did another little bit on how he's not settling his case against Rupert Murdoch on the phone hacking scandal, because it's about accountability. It's about accountability, because he really has a real issue with how he's been treated by the press.
We're not even halfway through 2025, and Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have already emerged as front runners for the title of the most publicly disgraced couple of the decade. From legal missteps to non-stop reputational meltdowns, the self-styled Duke and Duchess of Netflix have transformed scandal into their full-time brand. Their relentless pursuit of victimhood, attention, and relevance hasn't just backfired, it's collapsed in spectacular fashion. Now, with Megyn Kelly leading a viral, unapologetic takedown, the spotlight on their unraveling is hotter than ever. The world is finally waking up to the truth. This was never a fairy tale. For 5 years, we've watched a masterclass in public relations chaos, built not on authenticity, but on deception, manipulation, and staggering entitlement. They say karma takes its time, but for Meghan and Harry, it's hitting like a freight train. And Megyn Kelly, she just signed for the delivery. Through sharp, fact-based critiques, Kelly isn't just throwing punches, she's delivering confirmation. Confirmation of what millions have suspected all along. Meghan and Harry aren't victims. They're the architects of their own downfall. They called it a royal escape. But what they truly fled wasn't injustice, it was accountability. And instead of building a life grounded in service, humility, and purpose, they built a stage for scandal and cast themselves as the stars.
I Googled News You, and there were people who are fascinated by everything you're doing all the time. They're fascinated by Meghan is in California right now, and you're here. And there's articles left and right about, why are you doing independent events? Why are you doing that?
Today, we're breaking down 3 of their most shameless moves, starting with the one that lit the fuse, the infamous Oprah interview. In March 2021, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle sat under the California sun with Oprah Winfrey and did what they do best: play the victims while burning every bridge in sight. It became one of the most watched interviews of the decade, and one of the most misleading. Meghan dropped bombshell after bombshell, including the now infamous claim that a senior royal made racist remarks about their unborn son. But here's the problem: no names, no dates, no context, just a vague, strategically worded accusation designed to cast suspicion on the entire royal family. That single claim triggered a firestorm of global outrage, and yet, years later, still no evidence, no confirmation, no accountability. It wasn't a moment of truth, it was a masterclass in manipulation.
Do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's, and for Archie's as well, because I could...
The backlash was so intense that Prince William had to break royal protocol and respond directly, stating, "We're very much not a racist family." Then came the real whopper. Meghan's claim that Archie was denied a royal title because of his skin color, flat out false. Royal protocols, established over a century ago, clearly state that great-grandchildren of the monarch don't automatically receive titles. It had nothing to do with race and everything to do with tradition. Meghan either didn't understand the rules, or worse, counted on the public not to. And let's not forget one of her most emotionally charged claims, that she was silenced. Yet behind the scenes, Meghan's own PR team was working overtime. Legal proceedings later uncovered emails showing she was in constant communication with press representatives. Silenced? Not even close. Instead of shedding light on injustice, that interview sowed division, misled millions, and rebranded the Sussexes as professional victims of their own carefully scripted narrative.
Meghan and Harry, these absolute cretins, decide to inject themselves into the devastation in Los Angeles for one reason. You know what they really need? Us. What they need is us. And honestly, Stu, you go there, you don't make a mention, no, you don't get caught.
While cashing their Netflix paychecks, naming, A child should be a deeply personal and heartfelt decision. But in 2021, Harry and Meghan turned it into a calculated PR move when they named their daughter Lilibet, a private nickname reserved for the Queen by her closest family members. This wasn't a tribute, it was brand leverage. The couple claimed they had the Queen's blessing, but palace insiders quickly pushed back, stating that Her Majesty was never consulted. Even BBC royal correspondent Johnny Diamond confirmed that the palace firmly denied any prior approval. So what did Harry and Meghan do? They threatened legal action against the BBC, yet never produced a single shred of proof that the Queen had given her blessing. This wasn't respect, it was exploitation. And what makes it worse? It came after over a year of the couple publicly trashing the very institution they claim to honor. You don't torch the house and then name your child after its matriarch.
And the British population, like, answers to you, sort of, they're your subjects. Maybe they do need to see you during times of tragedy. You're in America now, and we don't give a shit. Exactly right. Disaster tourists.
I'm going to have to now withdraw that Nobel Peace Prize I earlier offered you after your words on poor Meghan.
By the way,
then, out of nowhere, they pulled out the Queen's childhood nickname, as if that alone could reframe them as part of the royal fold once again. It was a painfully transparent move. A strategic attempt to reclaim royal legitimacy while still launching profit-driven attacks on the monarchy, and the timing utterly shameless. Lilibet Diana was born just weeks after the explosive Oprah interview and the funeral of Prince Philip. The couple rode a wave of media sympathy, perfectly timed, fully exploited. This name wasn't about honoring the Queen, it was about marketing Meghan. But if that felt calculated, what came next was downright disturbing, less than 48 hours after. The tragic school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 children and 2 teachers lost their lives. Meghan Markle showed up at a memorial site with a camera crew. Wearing a baseball cap, she laid flowers and posed somberly. Her team distributed the images to press outlets around the world. There was just one problem. She had no personal connection to the victims, wasn't invited by the families, and coordinated with no local authorities. This wasn't a private act of mourning, it was a PR campaign. A devastated community became the backdrop for Meghan's empathy brand. Local law enforcement later confirmed she met with no grieving families and offered no meaningful support. Even some of her usual media defenders hesitated, quietly questioning her motives, Meghan's justification. She said she went as a mother, but for many, it looked like she went as a marketer.
Maybe she does care. I do think at the end of the day,
she doesn't.
The priorities
the Queen
seem to be
was dying.
her face on camera.
The Queen's husband was dying, and she went on herself, and I include Harry in that. She cares about her image. That's why she's there. That's why she's writing positive messages on bananas to sex workers, which just happens to be on camera.
But the exploitation was impossible to ignore. Tragedy became a photo op. Grief was repackaged as publicity. This wasn't compassion. It was self-promotion in one of its most disturbing forms. So what do you think? Was this a calculated PR move, or just another chapter in tone-deaf narcissism? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into royal chaos. You'd think that after the Oprah fallout and the Uvalde controversy, Harry and Meghan might finally step back, but no, the circus is still going strong. From failed product lines and memoir meltdowns to yet another round of explosive accusations, the drama hasn't slowed. If anything, it's escalating. Coming up next, 3 more scandals that prove their downfall isn't accidental. It's the inevitable result of arrogance, manipulation, and a relentless hunger for attention. First up, the DIY bath salt debacle, when Meghan's wellness dreams went up in lavender-scented smoke. What was meant to be a graceful entry into the lifestyle world turned into yet another branding disaster, and the fallout was as fragrant as it was embarrassing.
Right in the heart of it, on camera, where you know you'll become the story. She did the same thing after Uvalde. She flew down there and made sure she got on about her image.
Yeah, I cannot disagree with one part of that. And that's sad because there's no,
was supposed to be Meghan's glamorous debut into the wellness industry, an exclusive bath salt collaboration with influencer and entrepreneur Ronan Patrick. But like most ventures tied to the Sussex brand, it unraveled into chaos. Marketed as spiritually healing and personally curated by Meghan herself, the product launched with high-profile buzz and influencer endorsements. But the glow didn't last. Almost immediately, customers began raising red flags. Reports of skin irritation, gritty textures, and questionable ingredients started flooding online reviews. Then came the bombshell. Ronan Patrick threatened a $10 million lawsuit alleging in leaked legal documents that Meghan's DIY formula had severely damaged her skin. This wasn't just a bad business move, it was a reputational firestorm. Meghan didn't just try to sell wellness, she promised healing. Instead, she delivered hype and handed out humiliation. For a couple already knee-deep in PR disasters, this one stung with a lavender-scented irony.
Acting anymore. She's actually picked a profession that somehow is like more conceited and more self-indulgent than acting, which is, you know, I mean, look, if she could raise a bunch of money, which she could, and donate it to these people, that would be great. But her going down there and doing something on the ground does absolutely nothing.
Harry's 2023 memoir, Spare, was marketed as a deeply personal journey. What the world got instead? A 416-page tantrum in hardcover. What was billed as royal insight quickly devolved into a public therapy session, complete with self-pity, score settling, and cringeworthy oversharing. He openly admitted to using psychedelics and cocaine. He casually claimed to have killed 25 Taliban fighters, reducing the brutal realities of war to a clinical body count, a move that sparked global outrage from military veterans and security officials alike. And that was just the beginning. He aired petty grievances about his brother, he dragged his father, he even took shots at the staff who worked with his late mother, Princess Diana. And yes, he actually complained about a frostbitten penis. It's in the book, look it up. But perhaps most damaging of all, he relentlessly tore into the very institution that gave him his platform, the monarchy. This wasn't healing. This was branding disguised as vulnerability, and it backfired. Big time.
Netflix check. You know why she can't air her special? Because it's all about her Martha Stewart type reinvention in her huge mansion, even though it's not her mansion, it's a rented mansion. To release this steps from the ashes, including of her neighbors in LA, her dead neighbors and their community.
Then Harry acted surprised when his popularity nosedived. British military leaders slammed his behavior as reckless. Royal experts called Spare the most damaging memoir ever written by a royal. His approval ratings plummeted to all-time lows in both the UK and the US. And let's not forget, this is the same Harry who once begged for privacy, who slammed the press as intrusive. Yet here he was, cashing in on every private moment for millions. Spare didn't offer insight, it offered spectacle. And in a twist that made things even worse, the Dutch edition of the book accidentally printed the names of 2 senior royals. Allegedly connected to the racism controversy Meghan first hinted at during the Oprah interview, those names were conveniently redacted in the English version. But somehow in the Dutch release, they made it to print, turning whispers into international headlines. The fallout? Public opinion didn't turn on the monarchy, it turned on Meghan. She let a surrogate drop bombshell names, then played innocent. And the result? A growing public perception of manipulation and deception. As for Harry, it was just another blow to whatever remained of his credibility, especially with his own family. They tried bath salts, they tried bestsellers, they tried burning every bridge in sight, but in the end, all they did was expose themselves. So, what's next? Another lawsuit? A tell-all sequel? Maybe a few more invisible children PR stunts? Let me know in the comments what scandal you think is brewing next. And make sure to subscribe, because with these two, the drama never sleeps.
Otherwise, you'll have people like me all over you for being disgustingly insensitive. All right, we have to move on because there's a couple things we have to hit. So tomorrow we have the Pete Hegseth. Oh yeah, that's it. Can ruin your sleep. It can creep into your relationships. It can wreck your happiness. But there are ways to get help. You don't have to just sit and suffer alone and in silence. Let me tell you about Done with Debt. They have aggressive.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next chapter in this royal disaster saga. Just when you thought Harry and Meghan had reached peak absurdity, they managed to turn their Netflix deal into a hit piece, accepted an award meant for a war hero, and Meghan somehow hijacked the Invictus Games. The Netflix mockumentary, Harry and Meghan, was sold as a groundbreaking inside look at their struggles. What it became was a polished propaganda project, a one-sided, carefully curated smear campaign against the royal family. But the real low blow came when they accepted the Pat Tillman Award for service. Let's be clear, Pat Tillman gave up a lucrative NFL career to serve in Afghanistan. He died in combat, leaving behind a legacy of sacrifice, integrity, and selflessness. And yet ESPN announced that the Sussexes would receive the award for their work with the Invictus Games. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Gold Star families, veterans, and military charities came out in full force, condemning the decision. Even Pat Tillman's mother, Mary Tillman, revealed she was never consulted, and she opposed using her son's name to honor celebrities. The irony, this came at a time when Harry was actively suing the UK government for taxpayer-funded security. Apparently he's a hero when there's a trophy involved, but a victim when he doesn't get VIP treatment. But perhaps the most cringeworthy move was Meghan's attempt to hijack the Invictus Games. A noble cause turned into a fashion runway. When Harry launched the Invictus Games in 2014, it was one of his most respected initiatives, a solemn event, honoring wounded veterans. But by 2023, under Meghan's influence, the games felt less like a competition for heroes and more like a Hollywood spectacle. Former Invictus athletes privately expressed their discomfort with this shift. What was once a celebration of recovery and resilience became a PR stage for the Duchess. One UK veteran anonymously told The Telegraph, "It's not about us anymore, it's about them." This wasn't support, it was co-opting. Meghan didn't amplify Invictus, she absorbed it, turning real heroes into accessories for her brand. Revival. The games didn't need Meghan Markle, but Meghan desperately needed the games. She gave speeches, took center stage, and was photographed in VIP sections, while actual veterans and their families were pushed to the sidelines in press coverage. As Megyn Kelly put it best, this is a couple who have built their brand on betrayal, victimhood, and manipulation. As 2025 unfolds, many are left wondering, what's next? Will the alleged invisible children conspiracy resurface? Will former staffers break their silence with NDA-busting confessions? Or will Meghan's long-threatened Hollywood comeback crash harder than her Spotify deal?